Name an example of each and use proper notation. So in acute angle, we're looking for an angle that's less than 90. So I'm going to use angle ZYW. Y is the vertex, so it goes in the middle. You could also say RYS, XYR. There's actually a few. An obtuse angle is greater than 90, less than 180. So I'm going to use XYW. Angle XYW. Make sure you're putting angle symbols in. A straight angle is one that makes a line. So I'm going to use angle RYW. This one makes a line. You could also have said ZYS makes a line. A right angle is a 90-degree angle. Angle ZYX makes a 90. You could also have said this one has to be 90. XYS has to be 90. Vertical angles are when you have two intersecting lines that are congruent and they're opposite from each other. So if these two lines intersect, my vertical angles are these two green ones right here. So it's angle ZYW and angle RYS. See, these two lines, they intersect, angles opposite are vertical. Complementary angles, we're looking for two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So if I'm looking right here, this is a 90-degree angle, so it has to be angle XYR and angle RYS. They're complementary. They add up to 90. Supplementary angles, look for two angles that add up to 180 degrees, or which ones make a line. So if this is my line, there's a lot of different answers. I can use this angle, so angle Y or WYZ, and this angle, which is angle ZYR. Supplementary angles add up to 180. Adjacent angles are any angles that share a vertex and a side. So I can even, these were adjacent and these were adjacent. So I'm going to use angle WYZ and angle ZYR are adjacent. Okay, so now we're going to apply this and use angle measures, or we're going to find angle measures from diagrams. So this says the measure of angle CBD. So whenever you have a given information, you need to write it in the diagram. So angle CBD is 50. Okay, so before I answer these down here, I'm just going to start filling things in that I know. Okay, well actually no, because I have to do justifications over here. So measure of angle CBA. Well, since this is a 90-degree mark right here, this needs to be 40 degrees by complementary angles. So I write complementary angles. What is the measure of angle GBF? So GBF is over here. Well, I have right here two lines that intersect, and their angles opposite are vertical. So this has to be 50 degrees as well, so I write it in 50 degrees. I should also write in 40 degrees right here. Whenever you find an angle measure, write it in. So this is 50 degrees by vertical angles. And then now the next question, what's the angle DBF? So trace DBF. Okay, well DBF makes a line with this and this. So lines add up to 180 degrees. So this green angle right here has to be 130 degrees because it's supplementary. It makes a line, makes 80-degree angle or 180-degree angle with CBD and GBF. So this has to be at 130. So I write it in. And then the last one, what's the measure of angle FBE? This is getting really messy. FBE. So FBE is vertical was CBA. So this is 40 degrees by vertical angles. This is an open-ended question. There's going to be a lot of different answers, so I'm just going to work through some different ones. I can see that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 by diagram markings. Okay, you could also put the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 2 by the same thing, diagram markings. I'm going to put angle 1 and angle 5 are supplementary by supplementary angles. Definition of supplementary angles. You could say that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180 degrees by definition of supplementary angles. You could say the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees by the angle addition postulate. You could write that angle 4 and angle 1 are congruent, or their measures are equal by the vertical angle theorem, which is that two angles are congruent if they're vertical. There's a lot of different justifications and conclusions that you can make from a diagram. Okay, and the last example with angles is every time I'm going to write one in, the measure of angle YZV, so I trace YZV, it's this big one, is 120 degrees. What does VZW have to be? So VZW is this little one. This must be 60 degrees by supplementary angles. They have to add up to 180. Okay, next one, if the measure of angle VZW is 30, so instead, if this is 30, so this is no longer 120, what does YZV have to be? Well, if this is 30, then this has to be 150 by supplementary angles. Okay, I erased a little bit to start over since it was getting messy. We're right here. If the measure of angle YZV, so I'm going to trace it, plus the measure of angle VZW equals 180 degrees by definition of supplementary angles, or you could also put the angle addition postulate. D, why is the measure of angle YZX, so YZX, why is that equal to VZW? What kind of angles are those two? They are vertical angles, so by the vertical angle theorem. I'm just going to write VAT from now on for vertical angle theorem. The vertical angle theorem says that if two angles are vertical, then their measures are equal, or the angles are congruent. And then the last one is, why is angle YZT, why is that equal to UZW? These are also vertical angles. These angles right here are equal because they're vertical angles, so the vertical angle theorem.